What's up, everybody? Welcome to podcast now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to review Doom: The Dark Ages. I am quite literally maybe 2 minutes off of beating the game. I just did it, and I got a lot of thoughts, and I think it really boils down to a kind of a conflicted feeling. I really like this game. I think this is a good, if not even great game. In fact, I would say once things get going, you start getting the hang of it, the weapons start getting more powerful, all that jazz. This is probably what would be considered a great game. Is it an amazing game? Is it comparable to Doom 2016 or Doom Eternal? Well, later on in this week, we are going to rank the Doom games, but I do want to kind of give it away a little bit in this video because I'll just tell you myself, my personal style, I really jived with Doom Eternal far more than this game. But the beginning, what I just said, that's really what I want people to hold on to throughout this whole video. This is a great game. I think it's just very dependable on what kind of style you're into. Like, are you into the more gauntlet, like nonstop, you're almost sweating because it's so freaking intense, or lots of pauses and huge freaking open areas that, again, have the Doom formula in it, which is, by the way, I'm describing the Dark Ages here, and that's what we're going to kind of talk about in this video. Now, before I get too far ahead of myself, I do want to thank Bethesda and id for the review code. Greatly appreciate it, and let's jump into a little bit more of that deep dive. So let's try to go over, I guess, each individual element of this game. Number one, we'll talk about the story. We'll kind of throw it in because I do think it lost itself for the middle of the game, but this game has a far more in-your-face, like, direct storyline than the other two. And I will say, like, my own personal style, I mean, I like codex entries, I like reading, I'm a big fan of Alan Wake, I'm a big fan of Kingdom Hearts. Those are games that you have to really pay attention and not just be told the story, but also, look up things or, read stuff in the game. I can do either or. I do generally like just kind of being told it, walk me through the cutscene, walk me through the conflict, the characters, all that jazz. So I actually very much preferred this game and this game's story over any of the other Doom. I think it was just presented, obviously it was presented in a different way, and I think it ended up working. Now, again, with that being said, for the middle portion of the game, I don't think there was a story. I think it was get from point A to point B. There were some big moments, and I'm not going to spoil them, but there were some big freaking moments in this game, mainly towards the end. Some big cutscenes, some actually big emotion that I was not expecting whatsoever. So I think when they wanted to nail it, they nailed it. I think when they didn't care so much, they didn't care so much. And, again, granted, like, so much of this game is just get from point A to point B. There is 1,000 enemies standing in front of you, and you need to go through them. And so, I would give that like a plus. I really think the story and the way that it was done, the Doomslayer is freaking awesome. Like, honestly, in terms of his kind of strength and just kind of being a badass, I really think they showcase that more in this game than ever before. They just put him right in the front lines, and he just seems really cool. Like, he just comes off kind of with a different aura or a stronger aura. And honestly, I think that's because of the cutscenes. Because you're doing similar things in terms of wiping out hordes, but in terms of like them really showcasing him front and center of these cutscenes, he just really seems kind of sick of it, half the time. These are moments I think actually kind of help him stand out as a character. So that's a plus. The music, will throw that in really fast. I've seen conflicted thoughts to this. Maybe this is controversial, maybe it's not, or maybe it's actually more in line with what people have said. I think the music kind of rocks, but it is very much, you can tell it's not Mick Gordon, and you can tell it's a downgrade. I don't really have much more to say than that. Like, it feels strong. It feels like you're doing stuff, and if you feel very powerful, and it's not just, the bullets and the speed and the impact, it's also the sound effects that kind of go along with it. So solid, if not even great. And you know what? That kind of symbolizes the entire game, because isn't that, what I said in the beginning? Great, but like there's almost something missing from it, if you know what I mean. And that's what I would say, in terms of the music. Okay, a really big part of it, obviously, is, I'd say, level design, gameplay, and this is where I feel very, very conflicted, because when you are in a gauntlet, and let me explain myself, okay? Every area seems to be very, very big. There's a lot of areas that feel very samey, and I do feel like they kind of ran into that problem. So while there's 22 levels, a lot of them to me feel like they repeat themselves. Now, not all of it. There's a moment kind of in the last third of the game, like early last third of the game, where like the level design is very, very unique to the story. And there's actually a couple levels in that gauntlet kind of run that are very specific to the story. So I'm not saying all of them, okay? There's some levels that really, really stand out. And again, granted, like even if the levels don't stand out, the game can still be an enormous amount of fun. It's just that I found that, you would, at least me, I would be spawned into an area, a level, right? Chapter, whatever. And the first thing I would do is I would check the map. And then I would zoom out and I would say, okay, what are we dealing with here? And there's some levels that are not that big, but they're kind of like multi-stage. Like you'll go through one thing and then you'll have to do something else. You'll go to another one. Those ones felt a little bit more fluid to me. Ones that almost were like straight lines. Like, and I'm sure I'm showing you guys a lot of footage, and you're going to see me open the map a lot because... And I kind of liked it, and I kind of didn't like it. And I'll tell you, in terms of didn't like it, the flow. I think a big, big thing this game is missing compared to the past ones. Now, again, granted, I guess it's supposed to be. Like, they made it like this. So, I mean, I would see it as a weakness. Like, I guess I can criticize it even though they meant to do it. The flow is broken so often in this game. And that, to me, this newer age Doom, I don't know why you needed to lose it. I mean, think about, like, those glory kills and, the special enemies, like the big bosses, which, by the way, get very repetitive, and they are just the same kind of mini bosses over and over again. Those bosses have their, glory kills at the end, and they are extremely awesome, but... because they throw that in, they say, well, when you're attacking enemies, the finishing move to them is very quick, and because it wants to keep you, fluid, it wants to keep you like moving. And I will say, I do think they nailed that. I was seeing actually conflicted feelings on it, but I do think the general idea of running and gunning, and then when they're like lighting up purple and you hit them, and it's quick, it's not. I think they've nailed it in the past, though. I guess that's what I would say. I don't think they needed to do it. I get the whole they didn't want to break things up. But then I guess I would criticize that and say so much of this game is broken up. Again, you can see even from the footage, like I stop and start and stop and start 1,000 times, like per level. Now, I was trying to go for 100% in pretty much all the levels. I didn't achieve that, but I was going for it. So I would get like 95%. I think one level I got 99% of everything. I did get 100% in probably more than half of them. And maybe in all of them, I got like 80% of everything that there is to do in the entire game. And so, it could be my style. Granted, it could be my style. I was pausing and saying, okay, well, where's this collectible? How am I supposed to get those gold? At a bottom level, I'm on a top. I have to look for like a thing I can smash with my shield. And I mean, again, like in those moments, it's fine. I never think this game is bad. Okay, let me throw that in just in case maybe people get the wrong idea. The game is never bad. Even when you're trying to do like some serious platforming and puzzle solving and the flow stops, I would not call the game bad. I would just call it less than amazing, and I think but I would say that's what holds it back. When you are surrounded, when you look around in the walls, like the red firewalls are up, and you say, okay, I'm in for a treat here because you are going to get lit up. And there's a lot of enemies, and they're a lot of fun, and it's Doom. Like, it is just classic, awesome. The gunplay is still so freaking rock solid. The weapons still rock. The Impaler I freaking love. The super shotgun, anything. Like, I really, really love so many of the weapons. They have their alternates. Again, you can level them up. The shield, I mean, I think I got really comfortable with the shield towards the end. I mean, I was using it to parry extremely well. I was using it strategy-wise to, like, lodge into enemies to get a quick couple shots with a super shotgun, take them out in a heartbeat, targeting certain enemies. I mean, again, when the game is clicking, it is unreal. Like, it is still such a masterpiece, and it feels so good. I guess my issue is the past games, and specifically maybe Eternal, but I love both. I mean, Doom 2016, Eternal, but Eternal is like that nonstop. There is so little time to catch your breath, and I actually think there's more complexity in Doom Eternal than there is Doom the Dark Ages. I actually think you might have seen difficulty level be thrown around. Now look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I beat it on the hardest level, because I didn't. I beat it on this game's version of medium. But what I will say is the only thing difficult about this game is the hits that you take from an enemy. That's where I noticed that it's hard, because you take a lot of damage. So you get hit a couple times by a certain enemy, you're dead. And that's what I think scales basically with the levels. But in terms of the layout, I've seen people have some interesting strategies online of kind of like hiding in a corner and shooting from a distance. I will say, like, you actually can do that. I don't really think that's how the game wants you to do it, but this game, because it's so open and because you can really come at it from different levels and angles and almost take your time in a way. And again, like, that's kind of an issue too. The game is a bit slower. The game can almost be played from like a super far range versus like getting right up there and attacking your enemy. And those are the things that kind of let me down when I think about Doom Eternal, of like using the chainsaw at just the perfect moment, or the flamethrower, right, to get armor. Like, they don't, I mean, there's something similar, I guess, like basically hitting with the shield. Like, those are ways of getting some things back, and upgrading your weaponry can earn you some things back when you hit an enemy, but it just doesn't feel the same. So there is absolutely flow, to the game. It just, I feel like because it's so big, that's the theme. Like, to me, and I was okay with it going in, but I mean, once you play it, then you really start to, understand, like, does it actually work? When we were leading in, it's like, okay, well, it's just bigger, right? But does bigger equal better? And I would say, in this case, the answer is no. Bigger does not mean better, because when this game is the best, it's still kind of small. It's still area-based. It still traps you and throws all these enemies. I would also say the whole samey thing, like, gets too repetitive. That happens too much. Like, I don't think the flow of like the introduction of enemies and the combinations, like, I love that. I try to do like a deep dive on Doom Eternal on my channel podcast now, Back to the Past, if you guys want to check that video out. I think there's something very special with that game of like introducing enemies and then the different variations of grouping them together and throwing them at you in different levels. This game, I just flat out don't think has that. They will mix and match, but it feels like you're always going to face the same general group every single spot that you go. So I just don't think the formula, and when I really think they've perfected that formula, they did with Doom Eternal. I feel like they lost that for some reason. So that's a samey type feel. And eventually, like, when you get going, the game is just the same. Like, that's something that's maybe hard to kind of convey. Hopefully you guys get what I'm saying. Like, when you get to chapter 13, 14, 15, you feel like you're doing just the exact same thing over and over. Now, it's still fun. Like, you can do, I think it took me maybe 12 to 14 hours to go through this game. And I was going for the 100%. So, if you really do go for 100%, you could probably get closer 16, 17, 18 hours. You could probably rush it and beat this game in 8 to 10, probably pretty easily if you're just going for the main stuff. But once you get going, like, you get more powerful, and that kind of unlocks almost different skills. But, generally, same enemies, same type of location variety, same puzzles you're looking for. You're looking for the wall. You're looking for the blue node to throw your shield. You're always looking for the same stuff, right? No matter where you are. That gets repetitive. The enemies, the variety, and the combinations that they can do are not there as strong as, they've been in the past. And there's one other part. There's the mechs and there's the dragon. Let me quickly just say this, and we'll let you go here. When it comes to the mechs, I actually really like it. It is incredibly simplistic, and I actually think it works really well, primarily because they don't keep you in very long. The amount of time you're in a mech suit, those are the shortest levels. They are like maybe 10 minutes long versus other levels that could be 30, 40, 50 minutes. So you're barely in them, and it's just rock'em sock'em robots. You are there's only 3 buttons. Like, you're dodging, you're hitting, and then you have like a special, and the special kind of charges. So that's it. It gets very repetitive again, but at the same time, it's so simplistic that it can still be kind of fun, and then you're not doing it for that long, so it's also fun. The dragon, I'll be flat out honest with you, I hated. There's something special they did with the dragon as a character that I will not spoil. I actually really liked that, but the dragon levels, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I liked whatsoever. Again, are they bad? Maybe not, but I'm just going to tell you I didn't like them. Maybe a personal preference. It felt so, again, repetitive. You're trying to like chase ships as like a side objective. You land and then you just go on foot, so it's just a situation of getting you from point A to point B. But I think the worst thing that's humanly possible, when you see the gameplay, it's simply dodging these projectiles, and you're waiting for a green projectile. You dodge the right way. It's like a lock-on system. You feel like you weigh like 10,000 pounds. You're locking onto a turret. It shoots something at you. You dodge, and it makes your shots more powerful, and you blow up the turret. Honestly, it's simplistic in the same way that the mechs are simplistic, but you do the dragon maybe 2 or 3 more times than the mech, and then also it's just not nearly as fun. It gets old like 10 times faster than the mech, and I just don't think it's designed very well. So I don't know what they were thinking there. I remember talking about that going into the previews, and when the game came out, I was kind of worried about that, and at least for me, I was right. I mean, other people might have liked it, so maybe I was wrong for them, but I thought that there was something kind kind of off with it, and I feel that there is something off with it now that I actually played the game. So and those are things that they do to kind of break up these 50-minute levels that can take you that long, because if you're going for everything, right? And it's like, all right, well, it breaks up the combat, but then you're still doing the combat with the dragon, because sometimes you have to go on land and still fight. So it's not really breaking it up. And then the parts that's on the dragon are just not fun to me. And then the mechs are actually, you're not in it a long time, and then you're back to fighting. So again, the flow. I really think the one major criticism I would say with this game is the flow is off. And I get that it's supposed to be slower. It's supposed to be, standing and fighting versus like running and gunning. And I mean, different styles for different people. Maybe some people like this one better. I prefer, again, that gauntlet where you could just watch Doom Eternal. Again, I think I made like a 50-minute video on Doom Eternal. It's just so fast. You're in a gauntlet 24/7. And yeah, that might not be for some people. And then they might like this game. That's totally cool. I think it's just your taste. I really like that speed and that pacing, and it's not here. When this game is actually at its best, it feels like that, though, because they trap you and they say, okay, here's maybe like 200 enemies. They're coming at you, and you do Doom-like things. And that's when the game is so freaking good. But isn't that what the other games were all the time? Then this game says, okay, let's pause. Let you catch your breath, go explore for like half an hour and do all these collectibles. I guess if you're not doing that, the game actually has a better flow. Maybe that's something I just realized on the spot. If you're not going for the 100% and you just kind of rush the objectives, it does have a better flow because you're constantly in these little gauntlets. But then why do they make the map so big, right? So those are kind of the back and forth things that I feel. Great game. It is a great game. Is it like a game of the year, an amazing game, a game that I wanted it to be? I would actually say probably no, to all of that. And that's it's tough. It's tough to call a great game disappointing. I feel like it's almost unfair, but I think these people are so talented. I think they can make such great games, and I feel like the bar that they set for themselves was not reached here. So great game, but is it as good as I thought it would be? I'd actually say the answer was no. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.